Uh, that's also very loud. Hopefully not too loud. Sorry, I need to change my headset settings. Okay. Hopefully. Okay. Uh, this is not part of the review. Let's go ahead and start. So we have, I think these are relatively newer players. Okay, so this is kind of a little greedy. I'll just say, like, the general formula is you both take corners, and the black has to play the first move, like, elsewhere, type of thing. Let me also disable AI. Okay. And you kind of fall into this area where you'll play into a flow where one player gets a side, the other player gets another. Like, it kind of goes in this position, but there's also times where players will split. But if you're going to approach a corner, we don't want to be anywhere near touching. If you play here, this is considered touching. In this case, it might be okay. But I would highly recommend that we learn how to, whoops, this is not how we do this, how to approach a 3-4 corner, and these are, of the 4 moves, the most solid ones that you can play. As for like a 3-3, usually there's a lot of different ways you can approach it, and these are all symmetrical. The 3-4 is not symmetrical, but you can approach the 3-3 symmetrically. Okay. As for black, when the opponent plays here, it's actually really nice if you just block. And the reason being is if they play here, we are going to double honey. At first it seems scary, but when you look at it, you're kind of swallowing white, and white's in a bit of trouble. So then you get to come back and connect, or you get to come back, or you get to continue the aggression and do stuff like this. And you would think, well, white's getting all the territory, but that's actually not true. What's happening here is that black is getting the corner territory, and the corner territory is very large. If the opponent ever plays an Atari, you always just connect, right? So very simply, if you play it too early, though, you come under this, where white gets this really nice, famous ladder. So we need to be careful that we're not playing too early and that we play something like this, or we come back and connect, where white needs to come back and fix, and then we continue bullying. Very flexible way of playing, but generally your opponent is touching your stone, so you want to respond. I have no problem with you playing in the corner either, but the general rule of thumb, your opponent touched you, you should respond. And same thing for white. Your opponent ignored, you touched them, you should come back and respond. And this is actually the same idea. So now white gets to do the pushing and honey, right? You're probably wondering what happens if the opponent plays an Atari, right? Well, if they continue playing the Atari and they continue playing aggressive, now we're in a position where we can either extend or we can take. The only issue with taking is you'll see that the opponent gets to trap you in on one side. The other side, you're not trapped in yet, but you're close. Alright. That's kind of the idea with that. I'll move on. Approaching out, that's good. Okay. So we finally have some business going on here. Here comes like the first part of the game that we really need to hone in order to get strong. And you don't want to make your shape like this. Do not allow your opponent to break you freely. And this is actually a move that can be played. Here, I would highly recommend going back into the corner. It just gives you the base. And it also follows the same idea and reverts back to this position. But when you play here and your opponent plays this one, another one you can think about playing is just connecting. So when they turn in the corner, you can extend from the group and make a base, right? This one is making a better base. This one is playing for more influence, but I won't really go into that too much. Important thing is that we're extending from our group and we're making it a lot more safe. Black kind of needs to fix because this is a little too open, but I won't go into that. Another thing is that we're kind of in this position where we also want to be able to extend, and this provides us a different thought of playstyle. And the idea is that we don't care if the opponent cuts us. Why don't we care? Well, there's a few reasons, but the biggest one is that we can just play like this, and we can give it up. And then we play elsewhere. That's a big reason. So when we play here, and then we play this one, our opponent should immediately cut us. Your only thought process in your games, if your opponent plays a shape that can be cut through, is you cut it. It's just good practice to ruin your opponent's shape. Because now, black is separated into two groups, and these two stones have no way of connecting up. This is a very, very important thing to understand. And the reason, this is a thing that you have to learn throughout all of your Go career, is shapes that get cut are not good. There are a few exceptions to that rule, but everyone at every level has this issue. Well, they'll play a move, and it just gets cut immediately. So here, a good idea is force this, make the opponent commit to saving the stone, and then just jump. If you really want to, you could play this, but this doesn't follow the rule very well. And the reason being is white can actually play here, but white also makes a shape that can be cut, right? So when black plays here, we're following the rule of not being cut. We're still putting pressure on white. White owes a move to make a base, and then both players are happy here. So black should actually just come back immediately. Maybe we actually want to play here, but I'm not 100% sure this is good. But for the sake of double-digit Qs and single-digit Qs, this is a fine way of playing. But once you have this shape, we should probably fix, because now we're aiming to cut at white. So now if white ignores, you're cutting white too, right? So it is sente. Your opponent does need to fix, whether it's here, here, or they play somehow else, right? If they fix like this, that is the way of playing. This is not ideal. First of all, the normal approach is here. So when we push the corner, we want to approach like this. I keep doing that. I forget that even if I hold it down, it doesn't really work. So you have A through D. This is a normal way of approaching. In other situations, you can play E, F, and G. But on an open board like this, you want to focus on just approaching. Find an approach that you want to do. I will say, forget about B. Don't think about playing B. B is a very special case. I'd say A and D are going to be your most valued ideas or approaches. But in general, A should be the first thing you think of. When you attach here, first of all, you immediately lose 2 liberties, right? So you need to come out. But you played here. Now white can play this one, and if you extend, right, you gave white a position that is very solid, that makes this corner very large. So if we just look at this, I'm making a very simple box here, right? So we have 1, 2, 3, 4. So this is 12. Then 1, 2, 3, 4, 8. 8 plus 1, 9. So they get 21 points, right? 21 points that are going to be very hard to contest. Now, if we go back and we play here, and say the opponent plays something simple like this. First, in the variation I just showed you, black only got a wall that wasn't doing very well. Now, if we look at this position, right, and let's say this is white's. So we have 5, so this is 15. And then for black, we have some potential here, right? We don't actually know how much we're going to get, but white has a smaller corner. And then once we've extended, we're making the area larger on the correct side. We're focusing on the position to make the biggest box. But also, we're playing in a way that we can also get points too. And it might be around 9 points, right? That's 90. We can get around 9 points here, right? With these stones. So you kind of took away a few points from white, so it was like -6 by playing correctly. And then we potentially gained 9 points as well. So something to think about is just when we approach, or I guess like you can play flexibly, right? You can play however you want. But when you play, common standard approaches, and when you learn to play these moves, they kind of come with the caveat that they're strong, flexible, or they usually have a specific idea that you want to implement. And these are really good for learning how to play. So in the actual game, we play like this, and here's the shape that I was talking about earlier, and black breaks it, right? So this is the same shape here, and black breaks it. So now white is the one that has this bad shape here. This should be met with blocking here, and when white goes down, we can go down again. So we're threatening the 2 stones, and white has a cut on the outside, right? If white just connects here, we can jump, or we can play here, and white's shape is not so good. So to show you, white would have to play here, black can play the Atari, and then take the stones. And black is happy. So white can't play this Atari because black will just capture, and white cannot play here because black will capture. When you play here too early, you didn't break the shape again. So here, white made the same shape here, over here, right? Break the shape, but we didn't. White got the chance to play here, and now we're in a position, if we Tanuki, we're 1 away from being captured. If we Tari and then play this way, well, now white can just capture the 1 stone. And it looks like we can capture these, but not quite. In the actual game, white played this way, and this is actually a ladder. Right, black can't do anything, so that was a missed opportunity by white. Oh, white got it anyways, because black responded. Black should not respond. Black, you need to give up the stone. White's going to take, black will take, and then we're in a position where we've split white. These 3 stones are tragically cut off from their home, and now they're very sad. Okay. I don't know who is typing, but I can hear you. One second. Ryan, can you mute yourself, please? I don't think they can hear me. Okay. So white kind of lost, or black kind of lost all these stones. They gave white a very large position. Not very fun. Um, that being said, black extends from the large area, which is nice. White plays from the very thick wall. So another proverb that we should learn is play away from thickness. This is super alive, right? We don't need to be playing here. Instead, we should be using this thickness to approach a corner, split opponents off. So this would be a good idea. So play away from thickness means also like pushing your opponent to thickness, right? So like if you can push your opponent to thickness, they're not playing away, and you can use the thickness like this. So now you've disrupted the flow of their base, and that's super important. Continue on. Black, I can appreciate that move. Big thing is, fixing that. So we're making this area bigger. So this is actually a very slow move. It's 5th line. You're focusing on an area that has a lot of issues as well. Corner would be big. Coming back here is also going to be big, adding, something to help the stone because white played here. If we play away, right, white can also come back and attack or play away, and like you can see that they're attacking the corner, but also they're attacking the stone further away. So here we can actually just play on either side of the 3/3 stone, or just play here directly. And the idea is black plays like this. We kind of got what we wanted. If they play here, or I should say something like this, we're not really worried about connecting back up because we can always play here. This is going to be a big move in the corner. How this approach works is usually the Joseki is we attach underneath, connect, and then we would actually play here as white, or we would play one below. But because the stone is here, we can't really do that. However, what we do is we can play in a large position, and generally we have something like this. This would be something that happens, or the opponent won't play 8, they'll just run the stone out. And you kind of have this running battle, but white has the superior position because they can steal the base. But they also have the larger group, so these stones are in a bit of trouble because white can surround them. This doesn't really do much. So one thing we should always emphasize is the corner, side, center. If a corner isn't finished, we should be finishing a corner, right? So here we go. These are corners that we could be doing. And then sides. So there's a partial side here, not very large. There is a very large side going on here that needs smooths. This is a side that's partial, and then we have a partial side here as well. So just by like outlining the side boxes, we can see which area is bigger. Let me add a different color, and we'll do this as well. So we have this corner that needs looking at. We have this corner, and then we have this corner. So kind of like based on the corner sizes, you can see that the 3/3 is fine. This corner is going to be a little bit more urgent. This one is probably the second biggest corner that we want to look at. You can see how none of the boxes here are on the top left. And the reason being is white is way too thick, and no one should care about the top left. Once you have a living group that is kind of like this on the outside, we don't care about the area near the living group anymore. So this is like all this is very small. This move is a little small, but we should probably get away with this. I'm gonna fast forward a little bit. This is not ideal. Again, we've made the same shape, right? We need to come back and fix, but regardless of how you fix, white can break the shape. At this point, white probably doesn't actually care. White actually has the Hane at the head of 2 stones, and white gets the bottom, right? The big thing is we need to stop attaching to our opponent's knight's move. It's very crude to try and cut like this. We need to focus on our own shape and fix that. Also, I know this is a thing that Q players do a lot. Don't peep a cut. Stop peeping a cut. It doesn't work. Just, if you're going to cut directly. And in this case, the cut doesn't matter, right? You have to answer all of these. And white's perfectly happy to give you these points. This is I think it's a 4x4 with 1 extra stone, so you get 17 points. While white gets to potentially gain 4 points here, but also solidifies the bottom, right? And there's potential to grow even further with a move over here. The center is always going to be smaller than any side or corner in like the early stages of the game. This just doesn't work for black. At least it shouldn't. Like, we can play here, and we can continue playing this way. And there's nothing that black can do to save these stones. If we play on this side, we're allowing black to make an effort to escape. And it'll be very hard to actively try. So, like, if we double Hane here, thinking we can capture these stones, black is going to be able to play a double Atari. And if you save the outer stones, it gets worse, right? So you would end up having to crawl, which isn't super good. Potentially, if the opponent starts here, we would just play this way and fix the outside. There is unfortunately some issues here, like this is actually a ladder. So we don't have the liberty of actually connecting our stones up like this, so that's why it's important we play here. This does give them the Atari, so they'll play here, and then they'll play this one, and then they'll block. But that's not super terrible. One thing that can happen is white can come back here, and then black can focus on building the right side. So in this case, I'd say white's still leading. This is something that could happen. This isn't good. Just play the Atari once. And then I think you should be able to, yeah, you should just play here. Why are we blocking? Well, first of all, our opponent plays on top, we can just take, right? This will go back a little bit further, but now we get the first move, and then black's wall is not being super productive because, well, they have 2 stones that are too close. What's the other reason? Well, if they play here, we get to play this Atari, and then they have to ignore. If they extend, we can play this Atari. First, they can't save these stones, because they're going to be an Atari continuously. The second reason being is they can't ladder these stones, because we can capture. So extend, we can Atari, and then we can always capture or extend again. And in this case, everything that black does, it dies. Okay. I see black is trying a lot of stuff. White's alive, so it's very important to just come back and kill the rest of the stones. Well, I guess in this case it's a little bit more difficult. Oh no, this just won't live. Well, no, actually it will live. So we have to protect. If we play this way, we can take a few stones, but black is going to come back and save the stones, and they gain a little bit. So after we play here, we just protect, and they get to save the stones, and we can attack. White's in a very good position with the whole outside. So I don't think by any means that this game is over for black, but we need to be very conscious of our shapes, and we need to make sure that we're not allowing our opponent to just capture everything, right? I'm not sure what this move is doing, so kind of put a lot of like reason and thought into the stones. I'm assuming you played here because you thought you could just extend the stones, but if you play here, white just captures, right? So if you wanted to save the stones, you would need to play here. White captures, but you'd still need to come back. So if you skip one and you just extend, then you can just play here. Okay. I spent a lot of time on this one. I'm going to go ahead and move on to the next game. I hope this was very informative for both players. I think in the later half of the game, black doesn't really know how to handle uh, the shapes and everything. And the first thing that I would look at is just moves like this, or let's just say moves like A and B, right, and C up here. We should just avoid them altogether because what you're doing is you're only creating bad shape. And if you continue creating bad shape, players stronger than you are going to be able to abuse that shape, right? And then later in the game, you kind of see how your shape fell apart. So in reality, just play solid shapes, right? Here. So maybe one thing we can do is look at or do Sumigo and kind of learn the cutting shapes and the solid shapes that we can play. As for white, I think in this particular game, while they did have the same issue over here and down here, you're a little bit stronger in terms of shape strength. Here we should definitely extend, but later in the game, we kind of played close to thickness. So kind of recognizing that you're strong here, you can play elsewhere, right? Big thing. All right. Now we have a game versus, I don't know. Am I not? Oh, I'm already in a review. Oh, I'm not. Okay. Whoops. Okay. Now I can do review. Okay. These two players seem to have kicked off in a fun way. It looks like Patrick versus Losing Teeth. It looks like it was a one-sided game. Interesting. So we kind of recognize that this is a shape that we should be playing, but our opponent started here, right? In this case, I wouldn't continue from this position. In fact, I wouldn't have leaned. And the reason being is when we play this way, we actually are giving the opponent this shape, right? And even if you connect on the outside, white's the one that gets Sente to play another move. So sure, you can get this and endgame, but the value of white getting like these couple moves in a row is pretty big. And then I think we immediately need a fix. So something like this, descend, connect. The opponent didn't really try to abuse the fact that we can take a stone for free. And just to point out, if you do this and you don't protect, white getting this is very big. Now black shape needs to be fixed, and your stone wasn't close enough. Or your stone's too close. It should be one further. So white can happily just take away the extension, and now you have a very inefficient shape. So for white, I would definitely do something here. But here, I think black needs to just come back and play this way. There's a chance that white plays this one, but that's okay. We can give it up. They're forced to play here. Now we have a Panuki, which is very different from the previous variation, and we can approach all the way. We kind of made the lower left side around the third and fourth line ours. There is a high stone here, but it's not helping white a lot. In the actual game, we Tanuki'd, which is fine. White made the base. This is good. These are good shapes to be playing. I now have. I mean, this is still like big, but black. Yeah, I would still play this regardless. It's just a free way of playing, even if the opponent has a better endgame here. It's a lot better than allowing him to just push, and then later just making living shape in the corner, and then you have to fight in the area here. So big thing is like this is low, this is low. Black needs a high stone to make it work. So playing here is an idea. I would still play something like this. So I'm making the top side larger. You can do this, which is something people can play. And then later you can also play this attachment. And then, kind of just invade everywhere and be like, ha, you have nothing, right? Kind of need to pick our battles here though, but I'm still going to say that this is the largest move. This is an idea, but the top side stone can be attacked. And if this stone can be attacked, then later like these stones get attacked. So my first thought is like I would want to play something at 015. So there's a couple of valuable moves. There's attaching, there's jumping, there's this invasion. So if we play here, generally speaking, I think something like this happens. Black can also play like this, but this would give white too much in the corner. So usually black will start here, and then we get to this position. Or black will play here. We can take the one stone. And then black needs to figure out how they're going to attack. Sometimes it's like this, and then black can run away. White gets this like massive wall, and sometimes white can just ignore this too, right? So this is kind of a whole process that happens. Two separate ideas though. Like this is something that happens in another Joseki, but in this case, we don't just descend or we play here. We actually just invade the corner first, because if they play like this, then white's kind of in a bit of trouble with the stone. If white plays like this, it's similar. White's in trouble. So generally, what white has to do is they ignore. And you can get a couple of ways of playing here. For example, I think you just play this one. I don't know if you clamp first, but black can play here. And I believe this group is alive. And black can come back here. I could be wrong. Someone could correct me here, but it really depends on whether or not this group can fight this group. Generally, white won't play it unless like they're already connected. So there's that. There's also, you can just ignore it. Like you can just live. This would be the better way to live. And now white gets to cut through, but you literally just play elsewhere, because later in the game you have this. You can bring the stones out later. You can force white to capture, right? So C is an evasion, but we have to be wary that the opponent can take it, take the corner. But it does mean ruining the left side. So playing here, okay, black played their immediate, which is good. This is not a good move. Don't touch weak stones. Just jump, right? I'm not exactly sure what you were afraid of, but when you play here, the black gets to stand up, and even if you get this, Like, you have to connect, and then black can fix. They can play here. I imagine black just fixes, and now this stone is in a lot of trouble. Even if black just takes the extension, if you cut, I believe black can just... I think black is happy to play something like this. Because if you play here, you can't really break out. You can threaten to capture the stones, but the question is, how are you stopping black from connecting up? If something like that, they break out, your stones are separated, right? So while the corner becomes safe, you're not in a very good position. Black probably should have stood up, but maybe the kick is fine. I would consider this not to be super good. White can play here. I guess it's fine if you think you can handle this, but black will just connect, or white connects here. And like, there's no good way to use the stone, right? So you get this, but it still leaves corner Raji. But you can attack this. The corner Raji is that white can play here, then we need to stop white from connecting under. If you block here, white connects under. Not ideal. So you still have to answer this type of stuff. So maybe the Aji becomes easier to use when black is surrounded. Tari. We probably shouldn't just... Alright, so hunting at the head of two stones is a proverb that we can apply, but we also need to apply it smartly too. Like, white has this helper stone. Does it actually make sense to play the Hane at the head of two stones when white has all the helper stones? Probably not. It makes a lot of sense to just run our stones out. Why? Well, first of all, we're stronger, we're thicker, but also we need to make sure that we're also putting pressure on white for these stones as well. If we have white continue to run these stones out, well, guess what happens? White's running into these stones, and they're not very well connected. If white spent 4 moves here, then later in the game, we might be able to cut white, right? Or we play a move like this, and white needs to fix their shape somehow. So they try playing bad moves. Right? White gave black a really heavy corner. They also gave black Sente, but at the same time, white's not fully alive here in the corner either. So when you come out and like you force your opponent to play with the heavy group, you kind of profit. Or it's not kind of, you do profit. Like this, you're just giving white more. I don't know what that move was. I think you could have tried this one, right? I think you're worried about this, but if you're worried about the stone extending, just capture the stone, right? Let black handle his stones here, and then you can play elsewhere. Okay, this is a really bad move. This move doesn't help you at all. This move removes the liberty. If you ignore this, right? Later in the game, you can't net anymore. Like earlier you could net, but now you can't. You can play here. Just jump. But like this area is not important anymore. Black has essentially captured these stones. We shouldn't care. At the very least, we should be able to play a move like that, right? So like we can threaten certain things. Black can definitely attack us. We'll run. Let's say white is safe, right? When white plays here and black descends, we're essentially trying to live in black's area. So I think the move is here, and black needs to make a choice whether or not they're stopping you from connecting up, or they're going to let you live in the corner at the price of taking the outside. Right? In the actual game, we kept extending. We should jump ahead. It's so important to jump ahead. Don't crawl like this. Don't crawl like this. This is bad shape. You can also play here. He owes a move here. Like White doesn't want to play any Ataris here, so like they're going to either connect or extend, and then we extend. And White runs into this weird idea that now they need to figure out how they're going to live with the stones, but Black is strong everywhere, right? If White plays the Atari, they're basically saying that they're going to give up the center stuff, right? And the worst part about this is Black can just give up one stone to make White have bad shape. And this makes the left side so much harder to invade as White. So yeah, cutting through is fine too. We should just cut directly. It's so important to cut directly here. Because now you're actually attacking the group. And it's forced to run. If Black plays here, I mean, sure, there's weird stuff that can happen, but Black can't really capture the stones at all. So like there's nothing Black can do here. It's really bad. So they're just going to jump, and then we can jump as well. Like you're literally creating a pass for White to attack, try to attack these, right? And like you're bringing these stones out with you, which isn't ideal. You really want to attack them, right? Even here, I would find a way to try to just get ahead of the opponent. Like I wouldn't worry about playing here, and like if the opponent plays here, that's fine. Pushing from behind isn't ideal, right? Because like you get into these positions where White will be happy to just come back and fix. Even if you get this, will take. They don't care that you separated it. It's a Panuki in the center, right? So like you extend, they extend, you turn, but now you're in a position like White is still cutting you, and like these stones are being attacked, right? Pushing from behind, not ideal. Playing the empty triangle, then extending from the empty triangle, not ideal either. This cut should probably... You're actually strong enough that you can just play here. The idea being that you're going to cut the shape. If they cut you, like you can cut the shape here. You wouldn't really extend because it's a little... Well, I guess you could extend, but generally what will happen is like you can play here. But like you're getting close to being cut, right? So you'll play this way. They can play the Atari, and then they're going to want to give up the one stone, and they're going to want to try to run out with this. So this is going to be the best way to handle this. And if they try to cut you like this, again, they can't really do anything here. You're going to be fine. And if they cut this way, you can cut them. Their shape isn't really good. So here's like a good way to attack White. White probably should have just ignored, in all honesty. So we run into this position. White didn't cut. There are some issues with like just cutting immediately. Like we're just giving Black a lot of strength for no reason. So I can respect that. But like we're in a position. Oh, Black should play to attack the stones on the right. Whether it's playing here or just connecting or playing on the outside, like it's super big to try and bring the stone out. Although in this case, we probably want to go from underneath. Or just play here. I think this is fine. But this is kind of like a really awkward position in the center. Like we should just get forward. But like the forward position that we want to be, like this is proper, but like we're pushing White into the left, but we're not really attacking this very well because they can make a base on the next move, right? This would be ideal. But tanuking this is really bad. As white can ignore, right? But second is white can actually seal black in, and this is how black gets sealed in here. White will probably just connect, and we get into this position where you don't have two eyes. This group locally is dead, right? So you have to use the Aji that is available to you, but white can play stuff like this. I think this move, and you're not alive, so you play here. And again, you're still not alive, so if you connect, or if you play here, this would help. White can play this one. In order to live, you'd have to play this way. White gets all the Sente. Actually, you die here. So locally, you're just dead if you play this way. So you need to come back to fix. Probably like this. You need to play the Atari first. The idea being, like, if white tries this... Oh, this is also not so good either. Technically, white can try to do some dangerous stuff. White won't do this, though. After this, white can play here, and you're still not alive. Okay, so in general, like, this shape is not good. You would start here. White gives it up. Maybe white plays here or plays this one. Sorry, there we go. And then you give up a stone for no reason, right? This is a normal invasion point, but it usually only works when white isn't so strong. So you should first test with a move like this. So if they go down, then you can play moves like this, where they're forced to take the stone, and then you take away the base, or not the base, but you take away the points. They get the corner, but you take away the points, which is important. If they block, right, then you play here, and you can take away some points. Let them have it. There's you don't have to be greedy. You can just invade like this, or not invade. You can just reduce. There's always a way to reduce this type of stuff. White allowed black to play all the things. I would probably look to play something like this, and the idea just being that, the opponent wants to run out, that's fine. They can take the extra stones, but we kind of built the wall around the one stone that they have. We can bring these stones out later, but we're making a box in this area, and we kind of almost claimed this territory. Okay. This is not a good extension. If we wanted to do something locally, we'd have to do this. Maybe black plays here. You'd have to do stuff like this in order to make some good shape, right? There's a chance that black plays like this and kind of goes for the outside. I'm not sure which way black will play. Like, maybe black plays this one. Right. Black connects. And you can save the group. Black has this weak group. It's not really ideal for black, but they would be able to attack this and leave the group here. Maybe it's good, maybe it's not. But this type of extension leaves much to be desired, and then we're touching. Don't touch. Stop touching your opponent's stones. They're not strong. The extension's pretty good. I think in this position, because we're a little bit stronger here, we can actually just Hane and then jump out. When we are weak and our opponent touches us, we kind of can play fast, and we shouldn't worry about all the stones that we have. So like here, if the opponent wants to take a single stone, let them, so you can gain thicker shape on the outside. So now that white is like super thick here, this cut is big, and these stones are big. Like this is a clear show of, how we play lightly and punish our opponent from trying to attack us at every angle. If our opponent plays like this, well then now we can come back and think about either just running and leaving the potential to be super strong still, or we can fix immediately and we're kind of connected here. Not completely, but at least it's easier to connect our group, right? In the actual game, Black played this, and we played a very slow move. We are not in any danger of our shape being cut. So bamboo is not helpful at all. Maybe I'm not sure what you were thinking, but like something like this would be a lot more helpful than a bamboo in the center. Here, if we pushed, we don't care about the one stone, right? They can have the one stone. They're giving us strength. So when you're in a position where you're being surrounded and attacked, we need to play lightly. So when our opponent tries to take some stones, we can build strength from giving up the stone. Yeah, we need to figure out one way to run. I don't actually know what the best way to run is after the bamboo. It might just be better to consider living directly. If we just live directly, then the next thing we need to do is figure out how we're going to save these stones. Because right now, when black saves these stones, they have a stone here. Neither group has ice space, so something is going to die. Your opponent... I don't know if black is watching this, but generally speaking, if your opponent plays a Hane against strong shapes, right, you should just cut. This is a very punishing cut. Why is it punishing? Well, white needs to figure out what they're doing with these 4 stones. They need to figure out what they're doing with these 5 stones. White has a living sequence here, but then white is in trouble on this side as well, right? So white doesn't have ice space here. If white extends to make some sort of eye shape, well, now you get to play here, and now you're attacking this group as has half an eye at best, so it needs to run. Playing here and allowing the opponent to connect up is a big no-no. So if we're going to talk about just connecting the shapes up, right? In this position, first of all, we can't cut white anymore. These stones are dead. So we have to threaten it. White fixes. And we still cannot... I guess we can still technically cut white here. But it's... like, this group is a lot stronger now, and it doesn't make sense to try. Right? So you need to come out here. It's... This isn't ideal. Cut your opponent. Don't let them connect up. What is this? We can still cut the opponent. We run into some interesting issues here. If we fix this, later there is Aji for white to make here. So we need to be careful. We can actually cut this. We should cut this now. Even if the opponent has this, now we can play the Atari, right? This is a ko worth fighting. Just because this group is big. So is this one. And the likelihood that your opponent plays moves like this in order to threaten stuff is big. And we only need to the ko is dangerous. We don't have the full ko threat that we want. But say for example we play like this. White's going to be alive here. This group will allow us to have another move. But this is kind of like the power of like just having strength with the group. This empty triangle is not good. I know that if we attach, right, like we run into issues here. We just don't need to do anything. Instead, we should focus on fixing everything. So now, like this, we can start threatening everything. Once you've cut black here, like you're connected here. Once you've cut black, these stones, these ones, and these ones are all in danger. Black would need to find a way to bring the stones out, but also at the same time, black would want to not let the more important stones die. Right, so if we get into this position, maybe like this, and allow these ones to be cut, black is probably going to be happy with that. There's also issues here that black needs to be wary of. So with something like this, potentially later we can go into some cutting shenanigans. This is an odd move. I'm not sure what we're trying to attempt here. Like, you're probably thinking about trying to break your opponent's eye shape, but at this point, you know, something simple like this is going to be big. Or just taking away and forcing them to play here, so you take the points, right? We need to, at this point, we should just focus on the bigger areas. Saving the 3 stones isn't super big anymore. Playing this is going to be super big, right? Making sure that we're building a wall and making the left side as large as possible. But playing here to try and attack the group isn't ideal either. You're alive already. We don't need to play that. Connect your stones. We're trying really hard to kill the opponent, but the issue here is, you know, if I play like this and then I cut, like you have to connect, and then when I play here, you can't save those stones anymore, right? And if you play here to play stuff like this, you still have to save these ones, and it gets worse from there. So we really cannot be trying to kill the opponent when we don't have the strength. Even like this, I think white can attack these ones. So if you connect up, white can play here. You need to extend out, and white will hane. I think this would allow black out. So these ones would be in trouble. So okay, so pushing here would be the better way of handling it. So the question is whether or not white should be able to play this way. Probably not. White should just do this. The issue being, though, is that, well, white dies if they play this. So white's in a little bit of trouble. But the big thing is we should be playing here. I'm not sure why white... So the way to avoid this catastrophic death is to just connect the groups. Even if black plays here, once we cut, we're alive on both sides, and black needs to figure out how he's going to save these extra stones. In the game, we didn't cut successfully. We needed to play here. So this is what I'm talking about, like in the other review that I did. We played a shape that can be broken. We continued to play the shape that can be broken, and then it's not ideal. Okay, black should just connect. There's nothing here for white. It's super big to just connect. Even if the opponent cuts, we can come back here. If the opponent jumps, we can fix on the outside or play from the outside first. If they cut, we can come back and save our group, right? So at this point, I think the game is over. I think both players are strong enough to know that the two groups are dead, so it's a little bit more difficult to handle this. So the big thing here is like we kind of I can see like white not understanding this, but or maybe not knowing this move. But the big thing here is like this kind of cascaded everything, and we really just didn't need to do anything in the center. It's corner, side, center. That's the reality of it. If the opponent gets an extra move on the outside, you really need to ask yourself, does this gain anything for the opponent? Sure, they might be able to play a move like this and force like a quick capture, or like they can play here and maybe cut later, right? So we let them have that way, but we get another move on the outside, and if they end in Goatee, that means we get to play elsewhere too, right? So really, just the attack that happened here is something that both players just didn't fully understand. And it would be important to understand that the way to control a fight is by playing thick and putting pressure on your opponent. Don't give your opponent weaknesses that they shouldn't have. The other thing is, I don't know why I didn't think about this earlier, but white should just play here. Black cannot capture the stones. There's no capture here, guys. Even here, like if they connect, we just take this one. There's no this would let the capture happen, right? But like we can just let them connect underneath and everything is dead here. Okay. Let's go to the next one. Let me take a sip of my drink. There's some one-sided games. Not oh, I guess they're NAOL rankings, right? So like there's not a large sample size, so there's going to be a wide range in the double-digit queue. Okay. Okay. First thing I think is like you probably thought this was a 4-4, and that's not correct. When you have a 3-4, the idea is we approach on the other side, and they back off. We play here, or they kick, they jump, and they back off. Ideal move is to play high or low. That is the approach to these guys. The extension's good. I can appreciate that. Attachment's interesting. We should probably play the Tiger's Mouth. Idea being, if we play here and they take, we can play on top and kind of ruin the shape. But do we really want to give the opponent? I would say this is successful for black, especially white has to capture the stone. So the opponent's probably going to connect, and then you can bring the stones out. So you can play something like this, and you went from a second line to fifth line in a very nice way. So what'll happen is the opponent will probably just connect directly because it doesn't make sense to play the Atari. And then you can play here, and you still go from second line to fifth line, and it works well with your stones. We make our box bigger, right? So we have, something like this going on, where potentially, we have some influence there, right? Once the opponent has connected, their shape isn't like interesting or ideal. I would either Tanuki or extend from the corner. I would not trying to connect, even if it means giving up, a portion of my corner. Like you can force this, you can come back here, and with something like this, maybe we want the one stone to be, whoops, We want the one stone to be further. So the extending here only helps black. I don't recommend this. Black should play here. The turn's just big, so if they continue to play this way, they're only building here. But the best move is going to be the knight's move. White can't cut meaningfully at all, and we can capture the corner. Excuse me. 3-3 invasion's fine. This is going to be the move. If you Hane, you run into some issues. White can cut directly, although there is a helping stone here. Like, you run into issues with the outside shape. So you have stronger shape by extending. Don't create unnecessary weaknesses unless you can protect them. And in this case, this is just unnecessary. We can just extend. Giving the opponent one extra push or 2 extra pushes isn't super meaningful to them if they give us a giant wall that we can use. Oh, we didn't. I thought we were going to do this. If they took, that would be interesting, wouldn't it? But like, you get into this position, and black actually gains from this. Even if you connect here. Yeah. I think black will just play here, and if you connect this one, I'll play here first into the Hane. I guess this is fine. It's still a giant wall. Black still can threaten to kind of ruin the shape. So like if you try playing here, it's not very meaningful for white, so white needs to just go back in the corner and allow black to connect up. And this would be good for black. This is the type of thing that really only works if they double Hane. And you play here. But giving black this shape isn't helpful. You don't want the Panuki in that direction. You would still prefer this. And this would be the Joseki. So it looks like a Joseki mistake, but I could be wrong. Just connect, right? In this case, if black plays here, now we can still play this. And black now has like weakness on the outside that white can use to reduce any sort of influence that black has. There's also the fact that this is a low stone, and this is a low stone. What? Why are we answering this move? This one I understand, but this runs into, like, you give white thickness here. This is not a Sente move. You can just play here. Why this move is super Sente because it's against the corner, right? So your opponent plays here, and then they're left with nothing if they connect. Well, now white's just dead in the corner. Right? With something like this group should be dead. If they connect, we just peep, and there's no way to make 2 eyes. So that's big. Why? Oh boy, black's starting to fall apart here. Okay, this is something that we should consider running our stones out. It's an Atari. If the opponent plays here, we can continue the ladder out as far as they want. Because at the end of the ladder, we're going to capture. Because we're alive. So likely, white will just play the Atari. And then take the 1 stone. This is going to be a slightly better position for white. Than before. But giving the opponent this shape. Alright, so we came back and connected. But if they play here, are you really going to spend a move at 3? You probably want to extend, right? We, at this time, like, white got too much. It's not super ideal. If I'm white, I'm immediately playing the pincer. Why am I pincering? Well, I'm playing away from thickness, right? I'm forcing the opponent to run out. But also, we can use this, right? So the group needs to run out. It'll have an eye or 1.5 eyes, and then you can surround the corner and make like this large area in the bottom left. So in the actual game, I don't know why we played this move, other than we just don't understand Joseki or like how shape should happen, right? If the opponent plays like this and we capture, this stone doesn't actually help to fight against this, right? In fact, when we capture here, these stones are in danger. So white needs to come back and fix. We fix. White gets to jump out or some sort of shape. In some cases, we'll just play this way, and then we can fix. But generally, white will slide, and then you can spend another move to fix if you need to. But I don't understand why we played this move. Because now white gets the Hane, and white played this perfectly. Really good. Jump, probably not that great. You're leaving the wedge, or like you're leaving this. Like I would just extend. Now I would jump, or I would extend again. But that's fine. Answering this is slow. The turn is big, but answering it is pretty slow. I guess one thing you need to be worried about is this. So in this case, I guess that's okay. It's fine. I don't know about that one. I think just connecting or see, like we wouldn't. All right, so the jump actually has a real issue here. And in this position, like I want to just turn, but they get to cut, right? So if we go back and they play here, 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 I get to turn, and it's so much better because I can play this Atari. If we go to the actual game, when I Tanuki this and I play here, this Atari becomes a nightmare because we lose these stones. So another thing, like, just be considerate of like your weaknesses, right? And this is going to be better for us in the long run because when the opponent makes small territory here, we get to make this wall bigger into the center, so the bottom side becomes bigger. All right. So we did fix, but we run into the same issue as before, is black can actually just capture these stones, right? But in this case, we can probably get away with this. And I don't know if... No, we can't. We just lose these stones. Okay, so yeah, black has a big cut, and we will have to give up the stones. So that means the corner is going to be big for black. This move is really odd. You should jump. At this point, the only thing I can say is that our reading skill isn't up to our theory, and we're protecting cuts that don't exist. So this is a ladder, and we should be able to read this, right? More properly, we can play this way, and we can capture. Sure, our opponent can play the peep, but you know how valuable is the peep if we can attack white? So white got this really beautiful surround, and we're playing an empty triangle. Don't push from behind. I highly recommend you jump ahead. Otherwise, you're in like this miserable position where you're giving the opponent this giant wall, and it's not fun. It's not a fun game anymore. Instead, your opponent pushes from behind, but at some point we say, well, that's actually not Sente anymore, and then you Tanuki. This is a much more fun game to play because we have more control. Generally speaking, if you never have control in the game becomes very difficult and stressful. So White tried to get ahead while they were already ahead. You should just extend. This is kind of an idea where like you're creating more weaknesses than you should. It's better just to play here. Even if the opponent jumps ahead, like you already profited by the fact that like these stones are strong. If you play here, you leave weaknesses that can be used later. Right? Okay. Don't need to protect here. We should play this way. We kind of have the cuts, right? So now we need to focus on reducing white. And that's super important. That move is no good. This move is very slow. It's not... You're already connected to this area, right? Like, if you wanted to fix the shape, you need to play here. This move doesn't actually do anything. They can't cut you, so you can play away. Ladder, right? Important to read. But also, like, if you ask yourself, do you really want white to play another large move here? Like, sure, we have some solid points here. This is pretty big. However, white is also growing some very solid points as well. Like, look at this gigantic wall. Like, you need to invade this whole like white area as black. So we need to consider where we're playing on the board. All right. I'm going to end the review here. A few things for black though is that you should really avoid playing these types of moves so early. Like T19 and T1, those are endgame moves. They don't provide you any useful stuff. And then the other thing is like second line moves are useful when they provide strength or pressure on your opponent. But when you play them to save a stone or to add strength to your own group without putting pressure on your opponent, it becomes more of an efficiency issue, and your moves are better served elsewhere. So my recommendation for any players is like play moves like this, where you have a third line, fourth line, and third line, and then avoid symmetry when you can. Sometimes you end up leaving weaknesses like this if you play a little bit further, and you have something like this, or like say you play like this. So like you can gain more ground. This is faster, has more weakness. This has some issues with having the same weaknesses on both sides. This one's actually this is a strong shape, and this has a weakness here, right? They're all flexible shapes. They're shapes that you can play, but like the big thing is, oh, this is also on the wrong line. I just realized. Here we go. All right. You want to play third line, fourth line, third line. And then if you have a high stone and you approach, right? You don't necessarily want to fix because you have a third line, fourth line. What line do you play? Well, you usually want to play the higher of the two. One way to fix is to play something like this, or you play here and you go to the fifth line. You make one side larger than the other to make the shape better. It's a lot more thicker, it's easier to handle, it's less likely to be attacked. If you have a shape like this on a side and like you can extend, generally you don't want to play another third line depending on what is over here. So here, this is kind of like it's based on context, but you can go from fourth line, third line, fourth line. Generally, fourth line, third line, fourth line is something that you will play in more of a Moyo game or like large frameworks. So I can give you an example, right? So you play something like this. You're going to play here. Fourth line, third line, fourth line. You're playing more of a framework. And the other thing is just, I guess, just do more. I want to say do more Sumigo, but that doesn't give you a whole lot of details. I would say kind of just look at stronger player games and see how they play. And if you have stronger player friends or like you're on a Discord community, really try to find stronger players to watch and then pick their brains. Otherwise, you might suffer from these type of moves for a long time, and it's not good. Okay, next game. I'm a little behind, so I'm gonna have to do these a little bit faster. All right, so we have Fly Guy versus. I can't say that. Well, we'll just move on. But I like the free run picture. So this is normal. This isn't really normal, but it is a move that can be played. I would recommend just extending here. Kick is fine. I personally don't like kicking. I don't think anyone should kick. Kicking is generally just not a good move. It leads to bad shape. So here, you kind of leave weakness underneath, and like if you fix in the corner, they get to come out. If you play here, you run into the issue that white can play to live in the corner, right? So, and then there's this as well, right? White can I think white can live here. It might just be L+1. It's L+2. But they can live if you try playing that way. So I'm just going to say this is alive for the sake of a quick review. But when you play high, you leave like a lot of this weakness. If you play here, it's a lot harder for white to actually take that. Because now, in order to actually play this, they need to make it go. Kick is interesting, but the value of these, when you play a high stone, the value is not territory. You shouldn't focus on territory with these. You should focus on like building on the outside. So like for something like this, you may play here and then, or say you take a large move, right? You play one of these moves. If they invade, that's fine. Let them have it. Or if they play something like this, let them take the, let them have the one stone, right? Or let them take the base while you go ahead and play for the outside. White is pretty low on the side, and they took away about 5 points that you would have had in the actual game. So we kicked, but we actually didn't defend. So now, like, the white can still play here and kind of like run the stones out, right? Well, I played here, but it's a little bit more severe if white can push. It's not fun if your opponent is able to push through you. So just be mindful of that. That's pretty good, but we don't need this as greedy. This is not the largest part of the board. And I would argue that we need to probably add a little bit more defense to this group. And then if the opponent wants to jump out, then you can kind of try to like figure your way in. But in terms of like space, both players, like, this is an even game. A little bit greedy to try and jump in here. If it's like this, the opponent's letting you connect up with them. Don't try to break out. Although they did attach on top, so like they're giving you something really nice. Yeah, this is pretty big. I guess like they're giving you the Panuki, so like that's pretty big. That's a little too much. Just block on top. Yeah, that's big, but yeah, if you play here and they get to this shape, they're not fully alive here, right? So you can just answer, and they still need to play in a way that lets them live. But then like you can see how like their shape on the outside is a lot stronger. So white played really greedy here, and if you wanted to reduce, right, or jump in, like you need to play something like this. And then black is a little bit reduced. Otherwise, just 3-3 or um, play in between the slides. So like if they play here, then you can come back. Or if they attach, like you can push and then play here. They might push and give you something, but later in the game, like there's a double cut, so they'll fix potentially. Maybe you just play here as well. But generally, if they connect, then it's probably good for black. In the game, allowing white to play this way and ending in Gote is not ideal. I think white needs to play here. If you don't play here, later black is getting this. And now your groups are split, so even if you break out here with this group, right, like you need to run with it. And when you run with it, black then gets to come back and attack the other group. So we would end up having to connect, and then black just captures the stone. Maybe it's not that important, but I think you spent moves there to play there. It's pretty big. Also, surrounding that group is pretty big. I can see that. I might try something like this, and then there is weaknesses here, so I would look to attack the 4 stones in a large way. That way I can use the weakness here and here to my advantage to attack these stones. Like I'm doing a splitting attack. I'm attacking, I think it's attack in the west to attack in the east, or attack in the east to attack in the west. I don't know. Basically, the saying is like you're creating a distraction to do the other attack. You know you're not going to be able to kill these, but then like you gain profit by being able to do the other attack because you've created a distraction. This is interesting. I'm not sure why we did that. In order to protect them, you should probably just play there or just Tanuki altogether. Because reality is if they want to do something, they have to play this way. We can wedge, right? But that does mean that black is going to get like really good shape here. So my thought was like they might play this one, but and you can connect up. But if they peep, maybe it's okay. But I think it's unnecessary. I would just fix, and then later you can push and cut when you're a little bit stronger. Like this, you've just given black too much thickness. And really, the only way to play from this thickness is to approach it from the outside. Playing here has the issue of like you're going to be cut off. So yeah, just you're already thick here, right? Like why are we playing towards our thickness? This doesn't make a lot of sense. You should play away from thickness. Your opponent's playing into thickness right now. So like, if they're gonna run, they're gonna run this way, right? And then again, you want to take it and then push them into thickness. So if they run again, right, you're getting all these extra valuable moves that help you. There's not a lot of value in white trying to separate these 2 stones when this is thick and this is connecting here. And again, you keep trying to push them into thickness, and eventually you just profit from the idea that like now all your stones are connected, and white still doesn't have a full base. Like these stones need to run and make some sort of eye shape. So like I imagine that white would probably try at some point trying this, but like jumping is going to be one of the best ways to handle this, and then just do something like this. But the more that white pushes your stones into your stones, it just helps black. right? These stones are forever floating, and in order to connect, they actually need to really connect. But you get to play in the most valuable portions of the board that have the most potential, right? Like, the center is not a whole lot of points. So it's super important that we're adhering to some proverbs when we play. And we're playing towards thickness again. Now we can actually play a little bit. Sorry, we can actually play a little bit more aggressive with something like this. The only issue is that white has these stones, but maybe we can play this way. No, we don't care about the weakness on the left. We care about isolating these stones and forcing them to live locally, so that these stones are helpful. White doesn't really have time to come and do something on the top side. Later, like if white fixes, we'll have time to play here and make the top right a lot bigger, right? There's also the fact that we can keep the left side low. We have moves like this to force white to connect up, and white's only getting third lane territory. In the game, we ran with the stones. It's not ideal to. I would play here directly, like this disconnection here forces black to figure out what they're going to do with their stones, and then you immediately attack black because they made their topside heavier. Yeah, so if we're going to play here, it's ideal to start attacking these ones or just jump out directly. So when white plays here, like, let white figure out what they're going to do with the stones. It's not ideal to save stones that are heavy. Yeah, this is going to be big. This is a little odd. I don't know why we're playing this way. So if it's like this, we can extend and, white still has a connection problem. If white extends and we play here, we can still cut white. There is, some issues with, like, we have to play this way, right? If we play here, we lose some of the end game. But that's not a terrible thing, right? So, like, if white's not careful, they can get cut with an empty triangle. Okay, so in the actual game, white actually got a super good result, and that's not ideal. What is wrong with just playing this way? Probably the fact that white's going to get all these, like, super important outside moves, and then connect the groups up. So even if we had played here, I don't even know if the ladder works for white, but let's assume it doesn't. When white plays like this way, we have a cutting stone that's not very useful to us. Okay. Well, I got a super good result here. This doesn't make a whole lot of sense. We didn't actually need to play that, but it's fine. Saving the stone's good. We didn't save the stones. Oh. No. Okay, yeah. That's a little tough. I would have just played here. Just connect, right? This group is strong. Now this is fully connected, even if they got to play here, right? They get half an eye, and that's about it. Later we can still peep, so, like, black still needs to actually run with this group. However that may be, right? And, like, you can still attack it. It's not fully alive. So black had to run. This doesn't actually save your group. You're still very cuttable. Like, for example, if we play here and you connect or not, right? If I just cut, now this group is fully cut, right? So then you have to break out this way, but white gets to play the Atari and then Hane, and even if you play this one, I get to squeeze. Although there is this ladder. The ladder does unfortunately work for black. So you run in, right? You just run into the issue that, like, you owe moves. So if white extends this way and you play here, then they get to cut through. Now the outside's in trouble. This group's in trouble, right? I know you're trying to get ahead, but like it's important that we also protect cuts. Don't make cutting points when there shouldn't be one. Okay. And I think just black gets in a lot of trouble with this group. White gets a lot of surrounding moves. We got cut. Right, these stones are almost forfeit. Yeah, white gained a lot from here to here. So I'd say the biggest thing is we're not using our shapes properly. White messed up here, but I guess the big theme we can take away is push your opponent towards thickness. Don't play towards thickness. Okay. Take a drink, and then we have Donka and Go-Go Boy. I don't think I clicked review this game. Alright. Oh. Okay, some Joseki. This is nice. The extension is interesting. It's a little bit small. I would probably focus on a larger corner. The idea is just that if the opponent approaches, you can always go into the corner. It's always been the idea. And if white plays here, we can always extend from the group, right? Super, super important idea. But I guess like if we think about it, we play. I wouldn't have done it, but I think it's possible. Jump is interesting. Answering is fine. I would just play here. Even if they play this one, like I'm getting the approach here, right? We kind of like get this thickness going, but also you can just play here, right? Black is not having the time of his life right now, so even if he does get, stuff like this, I don't know. I feel like you can get away with just this. This one is a little weird, but normally you just play here. If you're really worried about like him getting like outside moves, just connect. And if he turns, you can just pincer. If he extends or plays a nice move, later you have this move, but big thing is just like, you have Sente. If he ignores, then you just attack the stone. Pretty big, pretty simple. This feels too good for black. Yeah. We don't have the ladder, otherwise I would have been like, we can play this way. If we had the ladder, we could have done that for sure. Where black would need to come back and fix, and then probably answer something like this, and then white can fix on the outside, and white has like this nice thickness. But it's not happening in the game. In the game, we played here. I don't know why we didn't play this one. With the outside moves, like you can threaten to just make life. There's no way for white to kill the corner after you connect. Again, just connect. Don't let yourself get cut. Yeah, this is really bad. Also, it might be better to just play like this. So when they play here and they connect, you're just alive locally, and you can play a big move. Sometimes you take a local loss. Yeah, okay. This is rather unfortunate, and you should have realized that you can't connect. When you play moves like this is something that you should read before you play it. Otherwise, you give the opponent way, way too much. Yeah, white's playing this really well. They captured the stones. This is wishful thinking. We should not be playing this way. This is too not good. This is also alright. So when you realize that you're ahead, right? White should know that they're ahead here. We don't need to be invading everywhere. Instead, we should focus on corner side center. And there's a corner that is left, and that is the top right, right? If the opponent tries to attack us, you can always lean. You can always jump out. If they play here, you can always come out, right? The opponent doesn't have a good solid attack that they can do. They can play something like this and try to attack, but you can always run out. You can always just give up the stone as well for 2 moves elsewhere. So something to consider. Here, I would just play this. The peep is really unnecessary. Creating the tiger's mouth is super big. Here, like, unfortunately, I guess it's okay. Please just connect. That's an actual cut. And one thing that I've noticed from these reviews is that we don't protect real cuts, or we make real cuts, and our opponent should immediately cut them, or we protect cuts that don't exist. So I feel like that's just like a big thing that is going around in the community, and we should fix that. Okay, we peeped a cut. Well, I mean, we double peeped cuts, but if I play the Atari and then connect, I guess you can connect underneath, which is interesting. I didn't actually see that someone wrote in here. It looks like they left. I have too many windows open. I'm sorry I missed your messages. Actually, the thing here is that white can actually connect up, and the bad part is we can't actually do any real harm other than the fact that like the corner can live. So I guess this is appropriate. I would play here. Uh, uh, okay, that's fine. That's fair. I would continue. Oh, maybe not. Da, da, da. You gotta play here first. So now if they block, you can play the Atari and they can't save the stones because it's captured, right? So they have to play something like this. And then we can just Tanuki. The one stone doesn't matter. We do need to run with our group, so maybe it does matter a little bit, but I mean, we should technically be alive if we play here. Maybe that's what I would do, but I would leave it, play here, and if they cut, I'd give up the one stone. And kind of just play to bring my stones out. This way, like, if they ever play here, like, I'm not super worried about it. I can threaten these stones, and then I can make an eye in the corner at least, right? And I played a big move. Otherwise, probably just like this, and then something similar if they play here. I'm gonna play this one, and I continue to just push out this way, and like you can see how black is able to come out. White connected up. Interestingly, the two stones are not valuable. I wouldn't say them. The corner invasion is pretty good. We missed a move. This is a big move. We should play this way. Now we connect, they connect, we connect, and they'll fix. And white has a lot of territory. White should probably play here to force black to kind of live in the center, kind of use their thickness. This is a widespread principle of just pushing your opponent into thickness, so they'll play this way, and then we can make use of playing for bigger moves. In the actual game, similar. I would connect, less in-game issues. Played in the center, but the center doesn't have a whole lot. I would push and then play here. The opponent plays that, then we can come out. Right? I'd say this is pretty big, and then if the opponent still continues to run with these stones, then I would come back. Likeliness is that black doesn't have a whole lot, and there's no way for black to make up these points. So at this point, it's like black really needs to find a way to attack these stones in a very large way. One way, I guess one thing is like we can play here, force white to play here, and then just attack like this. So locally, white has half an eye, and white needs to figure out how they're going to run with these stones, but it's really hard to bring these stones back. So big thing is like, this is really just like a reading mistake, and then we kind of played really wishy-washy here with this stuff. The way to get back in the game is to play more normal. Like after this, right? White denied you to save these stones. You should have just looked at this position and said, okay, I now need to play thick and solid and just corner side center type of thing. Unfortunately, that's just the way that the game will go. Alright. This was a rather short game, but I felt like, this kind of like after like this type of thing, it sums up what black actually needs to do here, and it's a lot harder for it's harder. It's a hard execution that I think even like the strongest of players would have issues playing against. White also played just really well in general, so I don't have like any super complaints. Also, this is not a ladder. Not a ladder, guys. It's I guess it is. It's a loose ladder into a squeeze, and then it back into a ladder. But it's not a real ladder. So getting separated here is really bad. This isn't an actual eye, so like if you respond to this and they play here, you don't have a real eye. They also just don't need to. So like, let's say I have a few stones that are surrounding you, right? Well, technically speaking, you are locally dead. So if you were to connect, I can just take away the eye space. And if you play here, I can peep. If you play here, I peep. Right? So white just literally needs a few surrounding stones and you're in trouble. Okay, so you did respond. You have to respond to that. This doesn't make a whole lot of sense. I would still try to play here, just because this group isn't fully alive. You can actually, so let's say black plays like this, right? And then black jumps. You can actually throw in and cut this off, and they need to play here. But you can also play this move, and if they play this one, then we can throw in and take the eye. If they take, we can play here, still threatening the eye space, and then we play here, still threatening the eye. So like locally they have one eye, and then they need to figure out what they're going to do with it. So you can still attack both groups by playing this move. Maybe we let them off a little bit too early. Okay, I am going to end the review for this one. Black just got into a lot of trouble by first of all dying and then continuing to play near thickness. Not a good idea. And then we just couldn't capitalize on our own shapes, and we let white take the corner. I know it's a Joseki, but we didn't really have a lot of stuff, and then we got split. So like the split is kind of like the nail in the coffin for this game. Okay. Padrigos versus Solara. These names look very familiar. Let's review the game. Looks like a lot happened. Let's see what happened. I only have 10 minutes. I don't know who else is. Yeah, my pleasure. Let me double check if anyone else is in room 2 or room 1. Yoon Young is in room 1, so I need to do a quick review. This is fine. This is normal. This is a bit surprising because, like, this type of shape leads to being cut. Generally, when the position is like this, you either extend like this, and I think generally it's shunned because the AI prefers to, like, let white have this, so you can take a base. You know, points are better than influence to some AI. Now you forever have this cut, right? Like, it's a little shame. This is the normal move. This one leads to some issues later. For example, you can get into this position where you will lose the corner, or you play like this, and like you kind of pushed with the stone, and like, and some josekis, like when white plays away. Let's say white played away. Did you really want to play G16, or would you have played it elsewhere? Type of thing. Not super big, but there's also other issues. So yeah. Okay, continuing. Normally you play this one, and black will just fix. Playing this one allowed the whoa. Oh, I see. White misclicked, and then black. I'm assuming white misclicked. Didn't realize they misclicked, and then cut. So like, huh, that's weird. Why did they play E1? That's my best guess. Yeah, now we're kind of in trouble. Okay, we're live there. This type of outside stuff is unnecessary. This is a bad move. This is too small. Don't play small moves. I would play here another big move, or I would just play this one. Otherwise, you do have these 2 stones that you want to save. So this is going to be a big move. One thing is, like, we will have to deal with someone invading, but that is kind of par for the course. Okay, black played the move that white should, which is good. That is extremely weird move. So you're kind of trying to cut 1 stone off, but white doesn't care to be cut off by 1 stone, I think. But maybe that's okay, because if, we have to answer everything on the outside, it's not ideal. Right? So if white steals the territory, right? They capture a stone that was inside white's area. But black gets like this thickness on the outside, so like this solidifies the top side. It means that the left side is more invadable, but white has some more solid space here. However, this group, I guess white. No, if black plays here, like, you get cut, right? So like this group is in trouble. And white still needs to come back and play this move. So black does get like a move out here, but black also gets to threaten the safety of this group. You do get this, but then black is happy to have separated the stones, and you'll find that the 3 stones here are in trouble, the 2 stones here are in trouble. It's not good. I lost where I was. Okay, there we go. All right. But here we just get cut. I would have just played like this. I think this is fine. Don't ever Atari from behind and give up a stone like this. It's better to give it up like this, right? This is you know what? It's not a terrible move, but like if white just plays here, right? You're running with the stone. Like you need to continue running with the stone, and like if you play here, white connects. And realistically speaking, you're only going to continue running with those stones. So like I would either answer here and fix, or I'd play here or slide, right? In the actual game, we got a good result, and then our opponent played on the outside. We probably need to jump. This is a good time to just allow our opponent, allow us to have that shape that can be cut, just because this type of cut doesn't actually help the opponent. Otherwise, I would actually play here, and then we need to deal with our stones down here. But this is not the time to play this type of move. We need to run with our stone here. Because, yeah, okay, so the opponent is cutting very largely. We need to fix. Now it's this group versus this group. And I think black is going to have the upper hand, especially when they run out like this. So this is already starting to look really good for black. And you recognize that your shape is not super strong. Oh. Oh. White playing super strong here. I like that. I would play here. Even if it's like this, they can't connect everything. Oh, well, I'm also... You just capture. Yeah. Just... This is super big. Playing like this. This just stops... This stops everything. Right? This isn't actually an eye yet. Even if they play here, they need to block you from coming out. And you can play this one. They need to play here. And then you can... So you have four outside liberties. They need to connect. You take. You can fill in. This is kind of just... This is a capturing race. We need to be able to read it type of thing. But allowing the opponent to get away with this stuff is pretty big. This should be here. And then just play like this. Probably... Oh, this is tough. I want to take. And then fix. Something like this. Now white is fully alive. Black actually needs to run with this group here and try to save it. Let's see what happens. Corner is not alive. Black is able to run with the group. That's actually pretty big. This was really good by black, by the way. Coming out this way. And we should kill the corner like this. It's not even, oh yeah. Even if they play here, it's not... I guess they can try to connect up, right? But like this is not sucking. This is just dead. Okay. Moving on. Yeah, this is a missed opportunity. This is the way to kill black. Black got a really strong outside. White kind of fumbled the kill in the corner. So it's a little bit rough. So with the results of like the top side, black getting white pushing from behind and allowing black to just freely capture, and then black capturing this full outside, I'd say black gained a lot more than white did, especially when white misses the kill in the bottom right. Okay, I think my time is up, so I'm going to go ahead and end it here. Thank you for watching. Feel free to message me directly if you have any questions about your games.